Making banana bread. I have this recipe book right here and I have never done this recipe before, so let's see how it comes out. This is not an original Dia recipe, but it'll still be good. For those of you who do a lot of cooking, you can attest to the fact that you can give the same ingredients to 5 people and every single outcome will be different. That is, you know, the wonder of cooking. So let's see how this comes out. These were from last week. They are ready to be used. 6 bananas straight into my Power Chef. I have overloaded my Power Chef with bananas. I know that I added a little bit too many, but I'm still gonna try it and see how it comes out. The Power Chef does such a good job at pureeing bananas. Look at them. They are ready. 4 eggs, 4 large eggs. It's always good to separate them out one at a time. Straight onto here with my bananas. I need oil. I need 2/3 of a cup, and I'm going to be using vegetable oil. Whenever you are using your micro pitcher to measure things out, a good tip, a good rule of thumb is don't measure things by looking at them from up here. You want to actually get to eye level. So as I see this, I'm reaching the 2/3. I'm actually going to put it on my counter here, and I'm gonna just look at it right like this to make sure I am measuring correctly. Let's add that to our egg and banana mixture. So the recipe calls for mixing my bananas with my eggs and my oil, and then in a separate one, we're going to do our dry ingredients. So I am just gonna grab my whisk and just mix it straight on here. I could at this point try to get the blade back in there and mix everything together, but this is just gonna work better. Okay, so my eggs are mixed in with my oil and my bananas. So again, just setting that to the side. And now I'm grabbing my medium fatsa bowl to put in my dry ingredients. So it says I need 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 2 cups of sugar. I'm using my silicone spatula to level it out. This is the correct way to measure your dry ingredients, especially flour. You don't want to pack it into your measuring cup. You want to overfill it with your flour, and then you want to level it off like that. You can also use a butter knife too. It works really well. Granulated sugar, also doing 2 cups. I'm using my metal whisk to mix in my dry. So after we put our flour and our sugar, we have to add a box of pudding. So whenever a recipe calls for a box of instant pudding mix, more often than not, what the recipe wants you to do is to add the dry onto your dry ingredients. This one specifically calls for vanilla pudding. It actually says not to use banana flavored, even though it's banana bread. Adding to this a teaspoon of baking soda and 1.5 teaspoon of kosher salt. It says kosher salt. Kosher salt is usually different size granules. So what I'm gonna do is, I know that this is a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm just gonna level that out and do less. I'm gonna do just 1 teaspoon, just because I know that this is a little bit finer than kosher salt. Okay, I'm mixing everything together until it is well combined and I don't see any lumps in it, or I don't see any of that stark whiteness of the baking soda. So you want it to be very even in color. Okay, so now it's telling me that I have to add my dry ingredients to the wet ingredients and combine well. Well, about that, I can't add my dry here, so I'm adding my wet to my dry, which is fine. It'll be fine. And then it says to combine it gently. So I'm gonna pour it all in there using my spatula to get every last bit out of there. But I am also going to kind of fold this in. The spatula actually mixes really well. Looking good already. Next up, 1 cup of unsweetened coconut. Oh, look at that. Whoopsie. I'm just gonna add it straight onto there. I also need to add chocolate to this, which I love. It says to do 1 3.5 ounce bar. It's dark chocolate. So I'm using the 60% bittersweet chocolate. I love this brand. I love this chocolate. I find that it has a really good, deep, rich taste. Because it is a bar, I'm just gonna use my chef knife to cut it. So I'm not gonna do two big chunks. I don't wanna do two little chunks either. So I'm just gonna chop it until they're all around the same size. This is a little tip of how to use your knife when you have to cut something that's very large. You just hold on to this other part of the knife and you just press it down to chop it. Right, so I'm just gonna pour this into my batter. Holding it around the ingredient to make sure it is well incorporated. Okay, so my batter is well combined and ready for me to bake. We're gonna bake this at 325 degrees, and I highly recommend using a bundt cake pan. I have a feeling though, this is too much batter for my little silicone form. I don't need to grease this because it is silicone, so it is naturally non-stick. So I'm going to add batter until about halfway, and if I see that I still have a lot more, I'll just reserve it and do a second round of bundt cakes so it doesn't overflow. Into the oven it goes. Finally, my banana cake is done. Banana cake, banana bread, tomato. I can tell it's done because it started to separate from the silicone a little bit here. I also tested it with a toothpick and it came out clean. So I'm going to let it completely cool before I remove it from the silicone baking form, and then I am going to bake my second batch. And ta-da! Here we have our first banana bread that I inverted onto this cutting board. And now I am going to invert the second one. It's still a little bit hot, but I'm going to take the risk and invert it on right next to this one. So let's see. Oh, that was so easy. I love how clean this comes out. And guys, I know this isn't a product that is available right now, but this is just an example of how well our silicone baking forms work. So whether you have the rectangle form, the silicone baking sheet with rim, or the muffin form, they all work extremely well at making sure that your baked goods do not stick. This is the final yield. I have 2 delicious banana cakes. And of course, I am going to give it a quick taste test so you could see what it looks like on the inside. So let's just follow the fluted design to cut it. Yum! Looking good already. That's all for me today. Hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial on how I bake at home. If you have any questions, please post them down below and I will try my best to get to each and every one of you. Until next time, bye everyone.